Bringing back something that I haven't done in a number of months, I'm going to do a roundup of your Twitter and Facebook questions, respond to you, let you know a little bit more about me. It's something that I've been meaning to do. These questions were sent in a while ago, but I haven't forgot about you, and I'm finally answering them. The first one from Al Belso. What are your opinions about roasts such as the one Joel McHale gave at the WHCD, talking about the White House Correspondents' Dinner? I have mixed feelings about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. First, disclaimer, if I ever get invited to it, you bet your sweet ass I'm going to it, because that sounds like it would be awesome. That's why everyone goes, because they want to be surrounded by the glitterati, the famous, the powerful, and things like that. I think that I could go and not be corrupted by them, but I'm willing to give it a try. Now, when it comes to past White House Correspondents' Dinners, I loved Stephen Colbert's. He was the most real, perhaps. He attacked the real flaws and shortcomings of politicians and of the media, and so that's why he hasn't been invited back. And I understand that seeing, for instance, Barack Obama go up there and joke about drones, or seeing Bush joke about weapons of mass destruction, that is distasteful on some level. I do agree with that. But I think that comedy is a form of expression, and I think that we are better off and stronger in some way when we think about things in as many different forms as possible. Like, is it that much more offensive when a politician does it than when, say, Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart joke about very serious topics? Or bring it back to us. On the main show, we joke about incredibly serious things. If you guys ever sat in on a production meeting with us, there is nothing that we don't joke about. And I think that when you approach a subject in terms of comedy, it allows you to understand it from a different angle. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I do think that the sort of the intertwining of the politicians and the media is bad, but I'm okay with the jokes. Second question, this is from Eric Wallace. Kevin Spacey is the villain in the new Call of Duty game. What do you think of big-name actors getting involved in video games? I am all for it. First of all, I love Kevin Spacey. I'm watching House of Cards. It's a great show. I'm looking forward to the third season and everything. I think that he'll do a fine job. I'm not that interested in future Call of Duty games, I can say that. I've been playing Titanfall, and I find that to be a much more satisfying first-person shooter experience. I don't really care about Call of Duty anymore. Like, understand, I've played all of them. I've played all of them hundreds and hundreds of hours, but they need to innovate, and I think the only way they will do that is if you stop giving them your money. But anyway, back to Eric's question. It's also not new, you know, these big-name people getting involved. I mean, just when I think about, like, so Battlestar Galactica, for instance, both the person who played Kara Thrace, the person who played Saltai, they do voice acting all the time. You see Aisha Tyler. I don't know, there's a lot of voice actors at the very least. I don't know about, like, their face being in it, but I don't have a problem with that. I'm all for video games advancing when it comes to the way that they tell stories, the level of interaction they allow, the level of agency they give players over the development of the world and of their characters. And I think that to sell a lot of that, you do need qualified voice actors and regular actors. And so they got the money, why not bring in someone like Kevin Spacey? Third question, this is from Angel Panita. How come all the women you bring as co-hosts happen to be really attractive and pretty? Can't be a mere coincidence. I'm on to you, John. Angel, that is very funny. I definitely do not have any sort of litmus test when it comes to the level of physical attractiveness of my co-hosts. And understand that it's very, very rare that I just approach someone at random to be on the show. If I were to do that, and they were all pretty, I could understand how you would say that that's what I'm finding them based on. But that's not what I'm doing. Honestly, the only people that co-host on my show are people who have been around the studio and I've talked to, and I've found them to be clever and smart and funny and charming. I mean, that's how I got Mickey and Lisa, you know, that's how I got Lisette. All these people have been around the studio. I've grown to respect them and have good chemistry with them, and so I wanted to do the show with them. And so there's really no conspiracy. It's really no coincidence. We attract high-quality people around the studio in terms of their knowledge, in terms of their humor, and also in terms of their facial symmetry and stuff like that. I certainly don't mind it. Anyway, Matthew Hayward says, have you ever played a pen and paper RPG? If so, thoughts? Matthew, I have played pen and paper RPGs. I played in like 7th and 8th grade. I played Dungeons and Dragons. This is a long time ago. It has been a long time since I played that, but I did very much enjoy it. And in undergrad, I played this game called Earth Dawn a little bit. I don't have time necessarily in my life to really give the necessary time to playing it, but I would love to in the future. And I do think that in terms of my social life, one of the things that's been lacking is that particular outlet. I do really miss that, and I want to get back into it at some point. Hopefully at some point I'll be invited to a group or something like that. That would be awesome in LA. Okay, final question. Jenny Dennis Saxena says, catching up with shows. What happened with Vinod Khosla Russian snafu? Never saw you guys get something so wrong. And so Jenny is referring to a mistake that we made in a story last week on the main show. What happened was, or it might have been 2 weeks ago, is we were talking about a story where a guy was blackmailing the daughter of a billionaire with naked photos. And we said that the billionaire was a Russian billionaire, a Russian American. It turned out he was in fact Indian American. And so people were like outraged that we had gotten that wrong. And I understand if you see an error, you want to point it out, and they did. And in fact, we even took down the video because people seemed to be so sidetracked by that part of the story that we didn't want to leave it up. But I'm talking to you about it today because I want you to understand the thought process that went into it. So that story was pitched to us by one of our producers. The producer said that he was a Russian billionaire. We trust our producers to get things right. And 99.9% of the time when they tell us something in a pitch for a story, it is accurate. Now, I understand that your response is probably going to be, well, why didn't you double check it? Because when we do research on a story, think about the sort of research we would do on that. So this is a story about blackmail, revenge porn, things like that. And so I did do additional research. And so I looked up laws on revenge porn. I looked up blackmail and sort of the consequences for it and stuff like that. If you had thought that the guy was Russian, would you have sat down and said, what is the ethnicity of the person in this story? That's not the sort of background checks that you do. It's just not the way that we research our stories. And more importantly, it's not really that relevant to the story. Now, I understand we brought up the fact that he was Russian many times, but we did that because we were making jokes about how scary Russian oligarchs are. It didn't actually affect our opinion of whether the guy should go to jail, whether it was a wise thing to do to blackmail a billionaire in the first place. It was tangential to the story itself, and so whether we get it right or whether we get it wrong should not impact the evaluation we had of the actual story or whether you learn anything from it. Like, maybe that's just me not being hard enough on myself, but I do think that when we go on air for the number of hours we do every week, when we talk about the huge breadth and number of stories that we talk about every kind of subject possible on Earth, yeah, from time to time we're going to get something wrong, and you should be appalled by that if it materially impacts what we say in the story or whether we're right or wrong about the story. But if it's like that we say a city and the city's in the next state over instead of it, or if somebody's hair color is changed, or something tangential to the story, that just doesn't seem that important to me. And maybe it's just, me in the trenches, I suppose, and that's the way I see it. But anyway, I'm glad that people pointed it out. I just have to apologize. His name sounds Russian, and that's what I was told. That's pretty much as far as the conspiracy on Vinod Khosla goes. And we will be careful in the future to get all of our facts right, but you do have to understand there are certain facts you check and certain facts you don't. That's just basically the way it is. Anyway, thank you guys for sending in those questions for me. If you'd like to have a question answered in future editions of this segment, you can tweet me at John Iadarola, follow me on Twitter there. And every once in a while on facebook.com/tytuniversity, I will post that I'm going to be doing one of these, and you can leave questions there as well. Love hearing from you guys. Let me know what you want answered next time.